Okay, here's a tip for how to prevent the bass parts of your mix from getting muddy. Often the bass parts of a dance song are responsible for giving the track the energy and the feel. But if you're not careful, because the kick drum and the bass sit in the same frequency range, your mix can end up sounding really bad. So there's two ways that you can improve this. Way number one is through sidechain compression. And this is applied on the bass instrument. And basically sidechaining, in simple terms, means that the bass instrument gets turned down when the kick drum is playing. So every time the kick hits, the bass dips. So what you're then left with is a sound that kind of sounds like kick, bass, kick, bass. Now you can tweak the sidechain settings depending on your bass instrument, but in general you want to drop it out completely when the kick is hitting, and then you want to bring it back in over the course of that quarter note. So in the end, when you're listening to the kick and the bass together, depending on the bass instrument, you shouldn't really be able to hear a gap between the kick and the bass, but you'll feel the kick a lot more. Sidechaining is what gives a mix that pumping kind of feeling, and you should already be really used to using sidechaining on most of your instruments whenever your kick is hitting. Not all, but most. The second way that you can separate the kick drum and the bass instrument is through EQ. Now this will depend on what kick drum and what bass instrument you're using, but in general what you want to do is EQ a peak for each of them that's separate to the other. So you want to try to cut one where the peak of the other is. So for a kick drum it might peak at around 100 Hertz, and the bass might peak at around 150 Hertz. And what that means is that although they sit in the same frequency range, they're not hitting the same frequency every time. If your mix sounds very muddy in the bottom end, it's possible that your kick drum and your bass are hitting the same frequency. So you want to do as much as you can to try to separate them. So that's it for this tip. If you enjoyed it, subscribe, keep making music, and I'll see you next time.
Beast mode.